This meeting to order of the Breezy Point City Council for Monday, December 6th, 2021 at 7 p.m. First order of business is to all rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on. Third item on the agenda is consent agenda. And this is to approve 3A council minutes November 1st, 2021 and special meetings November 15th, 2021. 3B, approval of claims totaling $430,613.18, including electronic checks 2886E, 2901E to -2903E, paper checks 137190 to 137233 and 137235 to 137288. 3C, approve memorandum of understanding with police union and LELS for essential employee, one-time payment. 3D, sale of police department radar trailer. 3E, approve annual liquor licenses. 3F, approve Fletcher Foundation donation. 3G, approve engagement letter with auditor Clifton Larson Allen. And 3H, approve police department computers and accessory purchases. Do I have a motion to approve the items of the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Bakken, a second from Councilmember Ball. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, open forum. I would like to point out to anybody who's going to address the council in open forum is that if you've come to talk about your taxes, please hold your comments for item 6B in the agenda. That is where we'll be taking comments from the public regarding your taxes. If you have anything else that you'd wish to address the council tonight, please come forward, state your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes maximum. Is there anybody here that would like to address the council in open forum tonight? State your name and your address.
Jerry Schroden, Breezy Point Timeshare. I think this doesn't belong in the taxes one, but maybe it does. Last couple of meetings we've been hearing about the Bushman Road project, and then also talking a little bit about the new community center project that might be in the works. And as a representative of people that pay hundreds of thousands of taxes in this city, I've got a question that I would like an answer to, and it's kind of been asked some fashions in the past, but it's never been answered. But I think a simple way to ask it is, per $1 million of bonded money, what is the tax impact both on residential and on commercial?
So this is taxes. So
it is taxes, okay.
Yeah, so what I would do is when we get to the 6B item in our agenda, our city administrator will give a full rundown of the budget and a presentation. So I think some of your question may be answered at that point, and if not, then you can ask it when we get into the discussion.
I can ask it then?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't quite know where it would fit, that's why.
Yeah, it's. I would say let's hold it till then, because
between.
you might get your answer when you hear the presentation from the city administrator or have a better understanding anyway.
I read the packet and I didn't see anything in there, but again, that was only the outline.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sounds good. You're welcome. Anybody else wish to address the council in open forum? Hey, seeing none, open forum is now closed. Moving on to item 5 on the agenda, mayor, city council reports, and committee reports. 5A, Mayor, I have a couple of things. One is to report on how things are moving forward with our negotiations or discussion regarding fire services for contracting out for fire services for City of Breezy Point. We continue to talk with Pequot Lakes, who currently provides our services to us for fire services. We've had a couple of email correspondence with the mayor as well as the city administrator. They do have a committee in place now where they are looking at the draft of the joint powers proposal. They've stated to us within the last week and a half that they will be looking at that further and that the city administrator will be putting some information together to get back to us on the things that they see as positives and negatives within that proposal. Meanwhile, we have set up another meeting with the city of Nisswa to continue to talk to them about potential for getting fire services through them. And so that's set for December 14th. The city administrator and myself will be attending that. We'll be meeting with their city administrator as well as their fire chief and have some more discussions about that. Nothing is set or solid yet. We continue to talk through that, but once we have some solid numbers that we can share with the council, we'll be bringing those back so the council can take a look at those and compare some things, and the council can start to think about taking some action in which direction they may want to go at that point. So that's the latest I have on that. I also want to inform the council that we have been served with another notice for detachment. It's the third one. If you recall, we had two earlier previous notices served to us. The council did take action on both of those notices. One of the things that's happening already is that there's going to be, and I want to get this right, there's going to be a pre-hearing conference coming up on December 10th regarding this detachment issue. So we have several city staff, including our city administrator, plus the city attorney, that will be attending that pre-hearing and representing, of course, the city of Breezy Point. So this process, once it gets going, it moves fairly quickly. And so we'll keep the council apprised of what's happening as we move forward with this. But I want to give the latest information out regarding the detachment and what's going on there. So at this point, I don't have any other further comments that I would like to make, so I'm going to move on to 5B.
Mr. Mayor, before you go on.
Yes, absolutely.
Regarding that detachment, just to clarify, that is the same detachment that has come across us. It's not a third new one.
No.
The first two were failed due to
Yep.
incorrect inconsistency, and we declined it due to, and I could go on about the reasons why.
Right.
But, okay, so it's not a new one.
It's the same one that they've made an attempt to come back and change the things in there to get it correct. We're still finding some inconsistencies there, but the state is moving forward with a pre-hearing conference.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
they're saying what they have is what they're going to move forward with. So that's kind of where we're at. And the state, of course, is the one that pushes the process. So we have to be there, and our city attorney will do his job in regards to pointing out some of those things as well when the time comes.
Perfect.
Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're
So
welcome.
it's essentially Rev 3 of the same detachment.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty much. I mean, there was a few other little things that changed, but basically it's the exact same detachment we saw the first two times that we
They just
basically opposed.
They just continue to revise it.
Exactly. That's
Got it.
correct. All right. Moving on, 5B, city council members. 5BI, road committee. Councilmember Maroney?
Yes, Road Committee met on November 23rd to discuss the findings from each of the four communities. And as we know, Bolton Mink presented to us along with the other three communities. While we were in favor of looking at the county standard, the other three communities are more looking at the local standard. Their fear of the budget as far as the cost was cost prohibitive. Plus, without the firm guarantee, which we knew all along, without the firm guarantee of the county actually accepting the road once improved to county standards, that also caused concern. So right now, the consensus was we're going to be looking at the local standard with the option of potentially looking at the county standard again. And this is, when we don't look at the county standard, there's potential grants and funding, free money out there to help with that road improvement that we will no longer qualify for without going to the county standard. So we wanted to have that still in the back pocket in case the cost that would be absorbed to go to the county standard would be paid for by those grants.
So we do still have one meeting left. I don't think it's been scheduled at this point yet for December to wrap things up, but that was the last direction, is to start moving forward with a local look at. And it's still, again, a budget concern, still at the local standard for all the other 3 communities. So
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate the report. 5B, item 2, Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission met November 9th, and the fundamental things on the docket was to revise the definitions of a shed, and that's kind of in preparation for creating this R5 zoning district for up on the hill. And the changes for the shed definitions, that was pretty straightforward. But then we got bogged down into discussion on the R5 zoning district. I think there was some just lack of knowledge among various people, as well as there was some community concerns from the standpoint of this has been talked about for quite a while, and now all of a sudden it's coming up on the docket, and people were a little confused on it. So they held that over until next meeting to get a final recommendation on that. And then there was also a variance that was pretty straightforward, and that was approved. So we had hoped to get the R5 definition to City Council by this month, but it probably won't, well, it won't hit us until January, so.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you. 5B3, Technology Committee. Councilmember Maroney, do you? Or Councilmember Lillehei? Both of you I know serve, so feel free.
Basically, the Technology Committee met. We had the recommendation for the new police computers. Those have been seen their better days, so that we've made a motion on approving that with ARPA funds. Training and education on phishing and cybersecurity awareness has commenced. So we're working with our IT vendor with that, and they've outsourced that program, which is a great program. So that training started, and we're continuing to reevaluate in all of our technology here with security concerns and just making sure we're up to date and preventing anything that could potentially happen. So
The little quiz that goes along with that training is pretty straightforward, and it's very valuable. It's very basic, okay, and it shouldn't take more than about 15, 20 minutes to complete, and everybody that has access to the city is required to take it.
Very familiar with those little tests.
Oh,
Do
yes.
that for my work as well, so. All right, thank you. 5B4, Personnel Committee. Councilmember Wall or Councilmember Maroney, whichever one you pick.
flip a coin. Yeah, in our packet tonight, we do have the excitement to say that the past chief, Kevin Merschman, is now officially retiring as of December 30th. He has been serving the community since April 1st, 1991, so over 30 years of dedication to the city. He is not here tonight, is he? That's all right. We have now Chief Brian Sendell here. We need to accept his resignation here tonight, and he's been a great asset. So,
And I would just like to echo that and thank Kevin for his years of service to the city of Breezy Point and the citizens here. He served many, many years here. I remember him way back when he first started and remember him now. So I wish him well in his retirement and definitely thank him for those years and work and dedication to the city. So do I have a motion to accept that resignation?
that's a move.
Okay, Councilmember Maroney, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilmember Lillehei. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries.
Next on the list, with the pending of the retirement of the past chief, we were holding off on the promotion of a sergeant position. Now that the retirement is starting, we'd like to move forward with the recommendation that Chief Sendell has put through on promoting Officer Joseph Garcia into the sergeant position.
So do I have a motion for that? Okay, Councilmember Ball,
Second?
second from Councilmember Lillehei. Is there any discussion from the council on this before we vote? I think it's great. Officer Garcia has been with the city for many years and does a great job. Looking forward to having him move up. Yes,
Clarification on the motion, you are following the motion that's included in the packet setting his pay grade and step?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, effective January 2nd. Yep, pay grade 14, step 11, per our adopted salary system. And for clarification, he's been with us since 2005.
Okay, so 16 years.
Phenomenal.
All right, hearing no other further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Congratulate Officer Garcia for us when you see him the next time. Thank you. All right. Okay. Moving on, item 6 in the agenda, administrator and staff reports. 6.8, we have resident Shane Humphreys, who's come tonight to give a presentation to the council on the disc golf course and some of the work going on. So Shane, if you'd come forward, just state your name and your address, please, for us.
My name's Shane Humphrey. Address is 4556 Main Street in Pequot Lakes.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time. My name's Shane Humphrey. I'm the league director for the disc golf course here in town. Been a resident since 1992 here. I grew up in Breezy Point and attended Pequot Lakes school district from second grade through graduation. I lived all over this country, and I came back. There's one thing that we have here in this town that a lot of places don't have, and that's community. We always support each other. We're always there for each other. We're looking out for our neighbors. That same expectation and feeling extends to our course. Growing up here, Breezy Point has been known for our premier golfing, for great fishing, the resort, plenty of restaurants, live entertainment. We are known as one of the best places to vacation in the United States. But now, I don't know if all of you are aware of this, we're also known for having one of the best disc golf courses in the Midwest. Top 5 in Minnesota. I currently looked at the voting this morning. We had over 700 different votes. Our course is a 4.5 out of 5. Currently, we just need to increase our T-pads here, and we'll be about 4.8 out of 5. So very, very high here in the state, and we're actually number 5 out of over 800 courses currently. Players are traveling from hours away to come play our course, out of state even. We have a community of family and cabin goers that play and plan their weekends around playing at this disc golf course. Weekly league that has been running now for 4 years has an average attendance of over 18 players. We are over 500 members on our Facebook page. Our C-tier tournaments that we host in the spring and in the fall fill in an hour and a half. 90 players are registered in an hour and a half from open to close. A 36-hole course, which we're currently working on, is going to allow us to upgrade to a B-tier tournament, which will allow us to bring another caliber of player and business sponsorship, injecting even more money into our I'll be able to explain that here later if you wish. None of this would have been possible with what you have all done for us and what you have created for us. So we thank you from all of us. We talked about community and some we've done as a course, as a group, as a club. We started doing our community education classes, a free class that's open to the entire public. 3 classes were hosted this last summer, 15 attendees each. All discs are provided for free. In the first 2 classes, we were able to donate a disc to every single student. This came out of our individual pockets and from our players in the league. We are currently looking to expand this class to elementary, middle, and high schools. We're looking to offer our time in the spring as well as in the next fall. And we'll be working with the Pequot Lakes School District on coordinating that class in a Phi-Ed setting or an after-school setting. Again, this is going to be donated time from our club. We know there has been a lot of discussion about ways to get some funds back from the club. So I want to talk to that and things that we've been working on actually for the past year and a half in order to help you with that. I've created a QR code that I'm going to make a sign for. It's going to go right in the kiosk. That QR code is going to be attached to a PayPal account as well as a Venmo account. And quarterly, I will be making a donation directly to the council from those donations to help alleviate some of those costs for the expansion and the new amenities that we're looking to build further down the road in the years to come. I ran some numbers on that. A conservative return for seasonal membership, we're looking at about 40 total members, I estimated, at about $50 each, which I don't think will be a problem in any way, shape, or form, netting $2,000. Daily donations, say if we have an average of maybe 10 per day at $3 a piece, per May through September, just in that short time frame, we're looking at $4,500, netting potentially $6,500 that we may be able to help produce, return to you, to where you can use that on the course as you see fit. Our first year of that will be started here in May. I'll be doing the first donation, hopefully the first quarterly donation in July. And again, this estimate is based on our current traffic numbers, not with the 36-hole expansion where we should be able to increase traffic numbers significantly, thus giving us more funds to help with the expansion and whatever else you wish to do. If the council would allow for further discussion down the road, I have many businesses who would be willing to sponsor tea pads and baskets at $500 to $750 each. That's 2 per hole. If this is something you should discuss, I'd be happy to help outline the potential of this and what it would take to achieve such goals. These monies will be donated again to you to use as you see fit. So if you want to put a bocce ball course in, you want to put in picnic tables, community center, that kind of area, pavilion type area over there, whatever you need, we're here to help with that. As we look to the 36 holes, we're going to make this a true destination course, just as Deacon Lodge, White Birch, and Breezy Point Resort already do. With that, we're also going to be one of the few courses in the state boasting a 36-hole layout. It allows us to expand our tournaments from C tier to a B tier, which again means that we are allowed to bring in more sponsorships and the ability to expand our prize pool significantly, and as well as bring in larger crowds to our area and local business sponsorship. This also creates the need for a hotel destination package, which I've spoken with Dave Grabdall about. Brought him down to the course, showed him what we're currently doing. There's a large amount of revenue that he could be obtaining from this as well. This also creates a need for a disc golf pro shop, which I've talked to Dave about too. I've also talked about Pelican Square, Ace Hardware, looking at other business venues, maybe here even, that we could help with, again, having available for purchase, different accessories, plastics, bags, things of that sort, which then is just going to inject more tax dollars into Breezy Point. This is also creating another outlet for our communities and families to enjoy the outdoors and experience Breezy in a whole new way. Again, we have cabin goers, we have local families going, players of 10 to 15 people going out there at a time. And this also, most importantly, gives us an opportunity to make Breezy Point a premier disc golf destination for the entire disc golf community to visit and take advantage of our beautiful city and all we have to offer. In closing, people are traveling from out of state to bike Cuyuna. We fish walleye in Mille Lacs Lake. We ice fish JC's for one of the largest fishing festivals in the world. We want to help bring this additional title to Breezy Point. And that's making Breezy Point the premier disc golf course destination in central Minnesota. All of you have provided everything that we need. We're there. The only thing we need is the course to be finished and for us to keep doing what we're doing as far as marketing and spreading the good word of what we have been doing and what we have. This will bring another level of players, higher caliber, who are those that are going to be willing to take up the challenge. And we want to thank all of you for the immense support that you have shown us thus far. This past 5-6 years has been incredible. The expansion has been phenomenal. We never thought that it would gain the traffic that it has. Our last tournament, we had 4 players fly in from out of state just to come play at Breezy Point. We as a club and community hope you understand how much this means to us and how far we are willing to go as a unit to help all of you in achieving this and becoming the best disc golf course in central Minnesota.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll allow the council to ask any questions or make comments, but I'm going to start myself. I applaud you for bringing forth the idea of working to help make what I feel needs to be a cost-neutral adventure for the city. I think it's great that we have the amenity there. I think it's great that we have the economic impact that comes as a part of what's being provided. I also applaud you for developing a relationship with the Pequot Lake School District and working with them. That's very important. That builds, that's a feeder system. I get that. I understand that piece. But I think it's good that you're looking at how are ways that you can bring some funds back in to help us kind of balance that out. I always state there's the challenge with any entity that builds something. It's the cost to maintain it and take care of it. Because as we move forward down the years, if we want it to continue to be the number one or the premier or the top of the, the ace in the hole, so to speak, then it's important that the city then has the ability to maintain it and take care of it to that level. And I think what you're talking about is a good way to go about that. I would encourage you to get with the Park and Recs Committee. Councilmember Bakken is the council member that serves with them, to have more conversations about the type of things that you've talked about with regards to sponsorships. I like the QR code. That's a great start. And there's some potential there. So I applaud you for doing that and bringing that forward. I encourage you to continue to keep the council through the park committee apprised. Councilmember Bakken can bring that back and share with us those things as you continue to work through that process. I appreciate your idea about community. I'm a lifelong resident and member here of this area, went to Pequot myself, so understand what you're talking about there. I just think it's really important as a city that we're thinking about long-term viability and how do we take care of it and maintain it, and where does those funds, or how does that work, so that we can make it a cost neutral, which then provides benefits to others that come out and utilize it as well. So I think it's a win-win from that perspective. So those are my comments. Other council member have any comments?
If I may, as a liaison, I'm very impressed with your presentation. Thank you. I really am. Well thought out, well planned. I look forward to working with you. I like your zeal and your zest. I like it.
Myself as well. Thank you.
And I would also like to recognize the Parks and Rec Board for having the foresight to do this. And I was very supportive of it, but this really excites me. And I'm very appreciative of your efforts. And Joe Zierden and the crew and everybody and the council who made this come to fruition in a very short time. And already, my gosh, number 5. Woo, I like it. I want to buy stock in it.
Other comments from council?
I had a quick question. You talked about the tournaments.
Yep.
How much profit does the club retain from those tournaments?
No profit at all. And everything that I do has been completely out of pocket for the last 4 years.
Okay.
In regards to leagues, tournaments, the class, everything has been done just out of the goodwill of our hearts and the love for the sport.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
And in regards to the tournaments, currently our C tiers right now, from what I understand, the tournament director, from the weeks of work that they put into it, there's maybe a few $100s that they take home total. And that's, pennies on the dollar for the time they invest for that. When we go to a B tier, there may be more potential for us to help with those funds a little bit.
I've been to several of the golf tournaments, and this is, the enthusiasm that these disc golfers have, and they're probably one of the most courteous groups I've ever seen. They get out there, they don't leave any trash around. They clean up after themselves. Just a really, nice bunch of guys, and they're, 100, because we have only 18 holes, it's like limited to about 100 players, and they're here for just one day. But with a 36 hole, then it can go into a 2-day tournament, and that's when you're really going to start seeing advantages. Wayne Van Kappen had a program at other places where he would collect the receipts and basically have a raffle kind of thing. People would turn in the receipts, and then they would raffle off like some discs or something like that. But No, and then they would add up all that they spent on the receipts, and it added into the thousands of dollars of income that is coming to the city. So when you talk about cost neutral, that is something we have to consider, is what is the income to the businesses, to the, to the restaurants, to the resort and everything. All of that factors in. It's a relatively complicated thing to say cost neutral. And I have talked with Mike Wiebolt about sponsorship. He's very much in favor, and same thing with Bob Spizo. They'll have their signs up sponsoring holes. So, I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm because this is very visible, and it is not beyond reason to say that this could be competing with Cuyuna as far as enthusiasm and drawing in crowds. This has really been, a phenomenal thing. And we have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Maroney, who basically started this whole concept, several years back and saying, hey, we got a good spot, let's put one of these things together. So, thank you, Mike.
And Tom,
Take a
just
bow.
to expand for you too, give you something more tangible. Clearwater, Minnesota, there's a course called the Preserve. It is owned by Cale LaVisca. He is our current Minnesota pro. He's also one of the owners of Prodigy Disc Golf. In a 3-day tournament, he turned over 1,900 attendees to Clearwater. All hotels within Clearwater, St. Cloud, and the surrounding towns were completely booked out.
You got your hands full.
Then they will come, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for coming. I think it was a good presentation, a lot of creative ideas. I echo the mayor's comments on being cost neutral. I mean, similar to kind of issuing golf cart permits, like how do we, with, operating costs, how do we keep those to a minimum? And then maintenance, like you said. As far as sponsoring holes, I don't know, maybe you, or you know the answer to this. Is that something that's okay for a city to do, is to take and?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay.
And it could be done as a part of a tournament, it could be done as a season-long thing where you have year-long sponsors where
Okay.
they always have sponsorship of the whole, or you could do it on a event-by-event basis. So there's lots of different ways. That's why I encourage Shane to get together with the park committee to be able to talk about those things so they can come up with a plan and then be able to present it back to the council to be able to say, okay, yeah, this is something we could see doing or working, and making sure that it goes through all the proper.
Okay, great, no, good idea.
Absolutely.
One last comment before you leave. All my numbers are on the city's website. So you call me, email me,
I'll be in touch tomorrow.
send a carrier pigeon, but we got to get together. I look forward to working with you.
Myself as well. Thank you all for your support, for your time.
Thank you for your
and
presentation, Shane,
appreciate you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, 6B, budget hearing, adopt budgets and resolution for 2022. So just to kind of give everybody an overview, I know that we have an audience, crowd here as well, and the council, just to give them a heads up. I'm going to have the city administrator go ahead and give a presentation or overview of our budget. He's going to talk about that process, go through that, and then after that's done, we will then give the audience an opportunity to come forward and address the council. I will let the council know right now, too, that you're more than, as a part of this, to ask questions back to the presenter at the end of their presentation, if you so choose. So we're going to allow that as well, so that there can be that interaction. Again, I want to let everybody know, please keep your comments to a minimum of 3 minutes. Okay, so we can keep this moving in a smooth and timely fashion, and so that we're not here till 1 in the morning. We'll work it from there. So I'm going to turn it over to our city administrator, Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in the packet that is before the council and the public tonight is ultimately what you need to be adopting. It's Resolution 22, 2021. And this is for it should say final levy, apologize about that. But we're using the wording directly from the preliminary levy that was adopted back in September. With that, so everybody understands, the budget process is essentially a 365-day-a-year process. However, the formal process starts in approximately June of each year when city staff sit down and look at the identified purchases, projects, and current staffing, proposed staffing. In July of this year, the Finance Committee met and identified the City Council's goals for existing bonding and the future bonding for what is identified as the Bushman Road project and ultimately future road projects. Included with this levy is other information about the process. In September, we have had some finalized costs for health insurance and miscellaneous expenses. I would also point out, thankfully, Mr. Maroney reminded me this afternoon that I forgot to include the increased fees for liquor licenses. That added $11,500, and I'll explain that in the process as we go through. Ultimately, that does not change this resolution because this resolution is specifically to adopt the budgets and the levy dollars specifically that we have. Final point to note is since the September meeting, we've now included all of the other budgets. That includes sanitary sewer, cemetery, et cetera, our bonded indebtedness and so on. I would also note that this includes a cost of living increase as negotiated with the unions and for all of their employees. With that being said, I'm giving you a brief overview of what's included, what we had from the current 2020 budget to the proposed 2022 budget as far as it relates to levy. The significant implications for 22 are an additional staff member that council's worked on and identified as part of their goals from 2021. That is included in the packet at a 75%, so that it's intended that this person would start sometime in April. Additionally, the council took special time to meet with our bond consultants and our lending consultants about the levy dollars and retiring the 2012 debt. I'll go into that. There's future action on this agenda, but the idea is that we will be able to, with this levy and existing reserves, pay off the 2012 debt 2 years early, which should ultimately save the city $20,000. We'll go into that more later. And then finally, the additional dollars that the city identified that they wanted to specifically go towards funding future road projects, specifically Bushman Road initially, and then other road projects as we move forward. So the next couple pages that we have identified are just to talk about the different revenue streams we have. This is a summary going into the different fees we have, building permit revenues, reimbursement for services, hall rental, that's down a little bit. This is the general general information. We'll go into line items as we move forward. Expenditures, we've got the different expenditures for the different departments, highlighting different items, talking about how many administration staff we have, how many police department staff we have, Public Works, looking at capital expenditures for next year. City Hall, specifically the decks around City Hall have been deteriorated. They're from the original. We've worked with our building official and looked at the age of them and about the potential for replacing them, and it is time to replace them. So we have that built in addition to the $20,000 contingency for projects that arise that weren't budgeted. We have our regular attorney, we have our prosecuting attorney fees, we've reduced the animal control contract, our IT services are up substantially as I identified earlier, but we are receiving substantially more service. The current contract for Pequot Lakes identifies $121,555. That will happen essentially no matter what, as the city has a 1-year notice requirement. So even if the city council determines later, approximately March, April of 2022, that they wish to have service provided for someone else, we will still have this bill for 2021. Then we go into the transfers. The money budgeted for land acquisitions, for signs, accrued employee liabilities, different road improvements, and then ultimately $241,000 additionally going towards the road projects. When done, the Finance Committee asked that we create ultimately a $500,000 or $600,000 road improvement levy to address future indebtedness and or the improvement projects that are stacking up. Planning and zoning, we talk about the compensation for our current consultant. We've identified an increase from the preliminary levy or from the preliminary budget process discussion. We also then go into the building inspector and a modification of his contract and the budgeting process there. For council's knowledge, we'll issue approximately 60 new single-family home permits this year. We don't have the numbers finalized yet. That report will come in January. The other part that we are waiting for, or not waiting for, but will be added is the dormitory that the resort is building. So then we move into public safety. We have 6 full-time licensed police officers, including 3 officer paramedics and 1 sergeant paramedic. That's partially from the action from tonight. Then we go into different expenditures that I've identified. Most of these are built-in costs. When we talk about different expenditures for training, education, compensation, IT support, property maintenance, auto insurance, building maintenance. Then we talk about the different capital improvements. You've got a new SUV that you've already authorized ordering. We replace one of those each year. In addition, the police chief gave us a variety of other items that we'll be looking at replacing. Some like the radar trailer, which you authorize selling, not functional any longer, so it's important that we acquire a new one. Under Public Works, we talk about 5 full-time employees, anniversary dates. Thank Joe for being here for these many years. He's getting to be the senior employee on this side of the building, or the side of City Hall. But then again, we have some part-time maintenance staff that have helped us with lawn mowing, other projects, repairs and maintenance. These are costs of doing business. And when we get into the line items, you can look at the costs and how they've been averaging. We don't have any excess funds identified in those. Dust coating, we've increased this year of $5,000. We plan on increasing it again $5,000 next year due to the fact that we have had additional requests due to the new housing being built on some of the gravel roads. And I believe, we have a new trailer identified for 2022. And again, then we do $50,000 towards the capital for equipment. If you recall, last year, Joe Zerden created the 20-year capital improvement plan, and we are moving quite along with that. This year, I think we bought the new grader, didn't we, Joe? And that was done earlier this year. We were able to do that with cash without having to borrow funds. Yes. Under parks, this fund is down, and you'll see it substantially when we get to the line items, but part of it was because we have $10,000 identified for finishing the disc golf course, and $10,000 for a 5-year, or for the comprehensive plan going towards the future park equipment. This year you bought new playground equipment, which cost was about $140,000. We budgeted for that, started that 2 years ago. We've decided to do it the longer term and budget $10,000 a year rather than all of it in 2 years. It's a little less painful for everyone. But I would note that the community center, there are no dollars budgeted for the community center in 2022. That was funded out of 2021 dollars, and 2022 has no dollars for a community center. The idea was that we would take the results from this and discuss what would happen for a 2023 budget. Then we move, what we've provided here, seems to be the one of the several easy to see documents for the city council. Let me shrink that down a little bit so you can see that better. In comparison, looking at proposed tax rates for Breezy Point and other communities in Crow Wing County. Cross Lake is one of the lowest. Nisswa, Emily, Breezy Point is the 4th lowest. We go on with Pequot, Baxter, Brainerd, Jenkins, Ironton. But last year we were the 4th lowest, and this year we are the 4th lowest again. When we look at the tax rate history, we are specifically showing you what our tax rate has been over the years. What is proposed is 47.55, which is actually an increase from last year, which was 45.36, and the year before, which was actually higher, so that last year residents saw their tax rate decrease. What this means when you convert it into the formula, and I need to take a little bit of time explaining the process. The state of Minnesota is identified as one of the most complex property tax forms in the entire United States. Part of it is due to the fact that the valuations of the property in everyone's property in this room was done back in April. So the values of everyone's properties was set back in April. There was a meeting time for that. All property owners were identified of what their, or notified of their valuations. And then that, at this time of the year, is why it's confusing, we set, all the municipalities, county and school districts set their levy based upon what we need for operating the city. Because of that, you will note that it gets a little confusing for residents because they receive a notice that says their value is this for 2021 and now is this for 2022. In some cases, we've received notices from residents that their property values increased or their property taxes went up 22%. Well, the important part to note is that the value of their property actually went up 28%. In another case, a resident identified the value of his property going, or the taxes going up, but again, it was due to the value of his property increasing 47%. So in those cases, they weren't looking at the total picture because the state of Minnesota has created this complicated process. However, what I can show you is if on this document here in front of the council, shows if you had a property that was worth $250,000 in 2021, you paid approximately $1,067 for city taxes. In 2022, you'd pay $1,117 or an increase of $50.18. That equates to about 4.5 or 4.8% increase. The city council's proposed adopted levy is a 10% levy increase, but the value of the community increased by 5.5%. So that offset why there's only a 4.8% increase to certain properties in general. Because we also did receive calls from numerous property owners who had vacant land, and their value of their property actually decreased in most cases. So we had to answer to all those types of questions, but that is set by the county assessor. The values of properties are not done by the city council, it's done by the county, and then ultimately the county board has the final say. Now the next typo I had, Michael pointed that out to me today too, thank you, Michael. Under the change for 2021 to 22, I have negatives. Well, that was because I carried the negative over, I forgot to eliminate that, but the dollar amount increase was the $32. Or for a $2 million property, they saw an $862 increase, so my apologies for that. But it gives you an idea of what, if your property value did not change, these are what your estimated taxes would have been. Then we go into the different line items, and I'll try to increase that a little bit more, but I won't go into the details. They are, the council packet went out on Friday, it was available for everyone to review, and it was online on Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let me see if there's other significant issues to discuss here. I guess maybe one of the other questions that to address Jerry's question, there are the dollars specifically identified for the Bushman Road project will go towards the general fund road projects. It's not Bushman Road because right now the city council hasn't authorized any dollars for the next phase of the study for Bushman Road. But you can see right here under transfer to other funds, 720, that's where that dollar amount will go towards what we identified as land purchases, sign purchases, and the Bushman Road project and street projects. Then we talk about the different expenses for the other departments. Police departments, one of their capital improvements identified was a body camera. That will take a little bit of time. We'll have to adopt some more policies and have some public hearings on that. Public Works, for road projects, putting money towards different equipment and future road projects. Then we get into the parks where you can see that last year capital outlay, we had identified substantial dollars, the $159,000 for the specifically playground equipment, and then that's also where the reserves came from for utilizing for the task force study on the community center. With that said, revenues and expenditures equal out at $2,756,666. Let me repeat that, $2,756,666. We then move into the other information related to the EDA. That's part of our levy, 3425. Then we go into the TIF funds, tax increment financing that's in place. If you recall, we retain 10% for administrative costs, but the rest goes to be reimbursed to the developer for the cost of infrastructure. Cemetery fund, the city operates, maintains a cemetery. Levy dollars went up to $9,000. We also, for that, we have expenditures relating to maintaining that. The butterfly operation, or butterfly release operation is taken out of there. We also then turn around and sell cemetery plots and other information like the $10,000 donation we received to date. Debt service, this is where the city council is looking at retiring the debt. This is where that would take place. We'll talk about that later tonight. Then we also have the expenditures and revenues, the 401 account where we take and put reserves until we ultimately need the project. Sewer fund, we operate an enterprise fund, which is the sewer operating. It's approximately 700 property owners are hooked up to that. Not every new house is hooked up into that situation, but we are required by law to actually make a profit on that. And the sewer fund has done well and is in good shape. Then we do the sewer capital, which is the Fund 602, and we are putting dollars away for every new hookup we have. Is a $3,250 goes towards the replacement or expansion of the sewer treatment plant, and we are anticipating a study in the next 5 years, depending on usage, and then probably a build out 10 to 15 years, but it depends on usage, number of hookups, and how many conferences go through the resort type situation. With that being said, I would be more than willing to address any questions from the City Council.
Thank you, Patrick, for your presentation. Very well put together, very informative. Know there's a lot of information. As Patrick said, it is out there on the website too, so feel free to go back there and look at it anytime you want if you haven't done so already. Council members, do you have anything or any questions for Patrick in particular regarding his presentation?
I don't have anything specific, just very well done. Thank you.
Okay. Having been through, multiple of these presentations, the format that we put it in, it's very straightforward, very easy to understand. The summary up front basically goes through all of the nitty-gritty at the very end here. And I will have to say, monetarily, our city is in really, really good shape. We have cash reserves that other cities would die for. I mean, and the end of this year, if we finish off with these debt reduction, debt elimination, we'll be debt-free at the end of this year. So that is a huge accomplishment for a small city.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement at all. Councilmember Lillai, I agree 100%. There's been a lot of good work done here, so very much so. All right, so that brings us to the next step in the process, which giving the community an opportunity to come and speak to the council. What I'd like to do, because we're very close to 8 o'clock, I'd like to take just about a 2 or 3 minute recess. What that does is it allows us to reset our recording, because this is all recorded, as everybody may be aware of. It's recorded, so if we take just a short break, it allows us to reset everything. So what I'm going to do is, it is now 7:54. Basically, I'm just going to do about a real short 3 minute recess till about 7:57, and I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and at that time we're going to take comments from the public regarding taxes. So with that, I'll recess for 3 minutes.